Take me a minute or so here to get these back in.
He said he wears those because he's wearing the cowboy hat.
Yeah, that way you get to keep the hat on.
Yeah.
Gotta do that.
Oh, DJ, huh?
What's that?
Doing some DJing back in the day, huh?
Yeah, I did. 20 years worth. The last 14 were the busiest, but got me through the lean times.
Yeah.
A lot of good parties, too. She going into it eyes wide open? Is that
Kind
what
of
we're
a funny
saying?
story about it. Yeah, I explained to her shortly after we met, maybe the second time I ever met her, that I explained in my head what I thought was saying, "Hey, this is what I want to do in my career. I'm going to be moving around, and I'm going to be beholden to the military for a while." And what I guess came out of my mouth was more along the lines of, "I'm going to be moving around a lot, and I'm not bringing you with me." So
really?
I had to clear that up because
wow.
I meant the exact opposite of that.
Hello, this is Jimbo from the YouTube channel Jimbo South Dakota, and this is the Hog House Chronicles podcast. And I've been going across country, and I'm down in Montgomery, Alabama right now in the Aircrew Flight Equipment Shop, who, by the way, this unit is just getting F-35s as a guard unit. Pretty cool. And to my right is Benita Creekmore. I'd met her before. She worked with a good friend of mine years ago. We'll get more of her story. She's running the shop here as a superintendent. And we have Cade Skipper over here, who has been in the shop. We'll find out how long, but is also, I'm going to break the ice here, been selected for a pilot slot here. Very, very excited, very cool. So we usually just start these off because they're mostly military-centric. We go off track on some of them once in a while, but we'll go ahead and just start with you. You can just say, and both of you can just say how much you want to about your family, how you grew up, how you got interested in the military, how you got in, how you chose the job, those types of things, and then we'll just go from there.
Okay. Well, let's see. I joined in 2002, right out of high school. And honestly, I just wanted to get away from my hometown. So I joined active duty at the time. And I have no idea how this happened, but life support basically chose me.
Really?
Because I went in open general.
Oh, you did?
I did.
You're the second one in 2 days I've heard going open general.
Yeah. So now that I know how scary that is, whew, I got lucky. So I did that. I moved around a lot. I've been here in Alabama for 5 years. So right out, my first duty station was Holloman, New Mexico. And then from there, I joined the Guard. I went to New Mexico State, and I joined the Guard in Kirtland, New Mexico.
Was Paul Adair there when you?
He was. Yep.
Excellent.
Yep.
And another guy, I'm going to interrupt for a second, a guy that worked there, I told him he had the coolest cowboy name ever. I mentioned this on the previous podcast. Coolest cowboy name ever, Joe Justice. Remember
I
Joe?
know Joe. Yeah, he was actually at the workshop last year.
Oh,
so
nice.
I had a chance to check up and actually catch up with him.
Nice.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Joe. Hopefully I'll see him this year because we have the workshop coming up next week.
Oh, really? Where's that?
It's in Reno.
Okay.
Yep. So
Cool.
hopefully some of my old folks will be there.
Nice.
So,
Those are always great for that.
oh, yeah. Yeah. I love the networking aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So from there, I cross-trained, and I was a medic for a while. And then when I went back to flight equipment, Chief Quattlebaum hired me in South Carolina.
Nice.
So he's one of your guys, too.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So very small world, but very cool. And then from there, I took a QA position out in Fresno, and then I landed here.
Nice. And how long were you in Fresno?
I was there 4 years.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So
Yeah, we'll move on to you, and then we'll talk about some other things like deployments and future of being pilot, what that takes. And so,
Sounds good.
Yeah, have at her.
Yeah, so I enlisted the same week that I started my senior year of high school. Both of my parents were in the Air National Guard in this unit, and my mom started out in Sioux Falls. Yep, so up there from South Dakota. But yeah, they were both in this unit for over 30 years, so they always kind of guided me towards this path, and I always loved aviation and the military. So I enlisted in AFE because they told me ops was the way to go, to get in the operations squadron, and that would be a way to get me close to pilots and learn that lifestyle and how to become a pilot one day. So that's what led me into AFE, and I've been in for almost 10 years now. A lot of that being DSG when I was in school, and then I've been kind of a guard bum since then, and I'm currently full-time out here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you are full-time?
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Yeah, I didn't ask that earlier. Yeah, and in our unit, some would come to AFE that had aspirations of being pilots. Some would go into avionics, so they'd actually learn that side of the aircraft as well. So, in our unit, I think we've had more chosen out of avionics.
Okay, I think that's actually the two career fields it came down to, is avionics and AFE. Mm-hmm. And AFE was in ops, and it had a bonus at the time, so it made the decision easy for me.
Right. Yeah. Very nice. So one of the things that's come up recently is I saw an email with some pretty large bonuses for military and stuff. Now, I asked Chief Calhoun, and he had mentioned that recruiting here has been pretty good. South Dakota's has been good, but I think nationwide it's been dropping some. And did you ever have any of the bonuses when you're able to re-enlist or when you initially enlisted?
I have not. So I don't know what that life is like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, once you're full-time, too, you don't know what that's like either.
No, not at all.
So, yeah.
But I heard the same thing. I really don't know what that looks like for us right now, but I'm hearing rumors. So we'll see how it goes.
Right. So how long have you been in AFE then?
Almost 10 years now.
Oh, that long?
Yes, sir.
Okay, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, we talked a little bit before this when we were setting up, but I don't ask everything, of course. Right?
Yeah, I enlisted when I was 17. Like I said, still in high school. So I guess technically 11 months of that was when what we call student flight. So I was just coming out 1 weekend a month, learning how to march, learning military customs and traditions, and getting my ID card and getting paid for 1 weekend out of the month while I was still in high school. So.
Yeah. So, and you said you had applied at many units. So how many years have you been applying to be a pilot? You applied in South Dakota, you said, as well?
I did, yeah. So I've been putting in applications for UPT slots at fighter units for about 5 years now. So, and then it finally worked out for me this year at my home unit, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I might have missed it because I kind of look at what questions I'm going to ask as well too. So you have some college behind you then?
Yes, sir. I went to Auburn University, graduated there in 2020.
What'd you study there?
Aviation management.
Okay.
Yep.
Goes hand in hand with all that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you follow the football team? Did you do any sports in college? Or?
Not in college, other than just pick up like basketball games and tennis with my friends. Played a little bit of football in high school until I started working for a living. And but yeah,
it's kind of okay to protect your knees and stuff. Actually,
exactly.
As your optimizing the human weapon system guy was in here. I can't remember his name. Sorry, but we were talking some there too, and you just about the things that your body will go through.
Oh yeah,
years worth and stuff, and you want to stay fit. First of all, and, he's a big proponent of that, because it's not like you have a football season and then there's an off season and that. But yeah, seemed like a pretty cool guy.
Real shout out to D-Lock.
Yeah, real interested in the pilots and keeping them healthy and working out every day. And it's the same thing, like with high school sports. Did you have like coaches and stuff that wanted you to participate in multiple sports to stay, or was it pretty?
Absolutely. They did encourage that. And like I said, I played a little bit of football in high school and was convinced to go out for the soccer team at one point, and went to the first initial I guess you'd call it screening practice, and we ran, I think, 5 or 6 miles before we ever saw a soccer ball, and that was it for me. I realized I didn't want to play soccer after that.
Yeah.
But
That's a lot of running.
yeah,
A lot of running.
which comes full circle though, because now I run for fun. I did my first marathon a few years ago.
you did?
So yeah, I don't know. I guess in high school it didn't appeal to me quite as much.
Wow. You what brought you into liking running that much?
Honestly, so I actually started running a lot more because I wanted to max out my PT test, the run on my PT test, so I could go to a pilot interview with 100 at least to max out all the variables that I had control over. So I started running a lot, preparing for that, and then I just liked it. And so I said, I'm doing all this running, I might as well sign up for something, and skipped the half marathon and went straight to a marathon.
How many have you done?
Just one so far. I've done one and a couple half marathons.
What was the recovery like?
It took a few days. Yeah, there's a lot of slowly going up and down steps. Yeah, taking it easy.
You started doing some walks before you started jogging. How long
Oh,
after
yeah.
did you start like just slightly jogging again?
Probably I could have started sooner, but I probably didn't go for an actual jog until about a month after.
Oh, month.
I went for a lot of walks, but yeah,
What was your longest practice length?
I believe it was 18 miles was the longest practice, which they prescribe. They say in all the training plans to do longer than that. But I went through a little injury towards the time where I would have done, I believe, a 22 miler. Mm-hmm. So the longest I did before the actual marathon was 18, and that was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that. So,
That's still very impressive.
yeah.
It's a weird kind of fun. Yeah.
So in your younger days, were you a sportster? Were you doing any sports in high school or anything?
No, I didn't do any sports in high school. I didn't do anything until I joined the Air Force. Mm-hmm. And then I, of course, played softball. I think everybody played softball.
Yeah.
And then a mean game of kickball. And I did some soccer.
Sure.
Yeah. So nothing in high school, though. Mm-hmm. I had to work. So
Yeah, that is a thing.
Yeah.
That is a thing, no doubt. Yeah. So how was it? Go through how it was to meet John Kerry Cue Ball Quattlebaum and start that working with him and the relationship, because he spoke and speaks very highly of you to this day. So how did that relationship start?
Well, he's actually my favorite supervisor, hands down, ever. But honestly, it's because, well, let me back up. So I was a medic when I first met Cue Ball. And I went TDY. I was attached to the ops group as a SME. And we went TDY to Savannah, and I was back in the flight equipment section because we didn't have any room for the medics. And he came over. He's like, "Hey, didn't you have life support back? Don't you have a life support background?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was a long time ago." And he's like, "Well, we have a job opening. You should probably apply." I was like, "Okay." But honestly, I did apply, and I've been in AFE since. So, but we were able to create a wonderful working relationship because he's the first person that he trusted my judgment. We were able to have honest conversations, and we really just had a great friendship because we were able to, have that good working relationship. So, yeah, he's my favorite.
Yeah, I retired 3.5 years ago, and we've driven from South Dakota to South Carolina twice now to see him down there. He hasn't done one of these yet, but I talked to him the other night, and next time we'll be doing one. So
As you should.
He's a
As
little
you should.
shy, but not really.
He is not shy.
Right.
What?
You'd like cue ball.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in our world that I've gotten a chance to meet, a lot more, just with traveling around doing the staff assistance visits. But was cue ball a F-16 team chief already when you went into his unit, you think? I don't remember.
No, I think it was shortly after that he took the team chief position, because I joined AFE when I was a staff. So that was between 2010 and 2011. So I think it was after that.
Yeah. Then I think I met you with him at a conference, I think was the first time. And you'd been to an AFEC? Was it that class that I did in South Dakota, or was maybe for chem training? I don't remember, but you've been to my place in the Hog House, right?
I went up to South Dakota twice. So, and both times we ended up at your place. Funny how that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was probably one of the AFEC classes where
Yes.
all the fighters come together and just
Yes.
talk openly.
I don't remember which year that was, but I didn't go to any of that stuff before getting into cue ball shop. Mm-hmm. So, yep.
Yeah. Did you have any other family in the military prior?
Well, my aunt, she retired from arms, so that was a while ago now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she was in the Air Force, and then my granddad was in the Army.
Okay. So that influenced you? Did they talk about the military with you at all, or was it strictly your deal sliding into the military?
Well, yes and no. So I thought, well, I want to get away from home, and my granddad would never let my aunt join anything that wasn't okay. Mm-hmm. So she was in the Air Force, so I thought, okay, I'm going to do it too. Yeah. So I just took a leap of faith, I guess.
Right.
And here I am.
And you touched on military family members a little bit. Go ahead and talk about that a little bit and how much it influenced you or didn't. Or
Oh yeah, it was definitely a big influence on me. So both of my grandfathers on my mom and dad's side, both of them were in the Army. My uncle was an Army Ranger for a number of years, and as he actually still works with Lockheed Martin. And then both of my parents were in the Air National Guard for over 30 years. So that was a huge influence. And my uncle especially, since he was in the Army, my parents were in the Air Force. There was always a little good-natured, but a good-natured ribbing back and forth between the chair force and you weren't smart enough to get in the Air Force, so you went into the Army. But that really played a big role as well, though, because I mean he's been in some hairy situations overseas where they really needed air support, and so that really brought it home for me, because in the beginning I just wanted to fly something fast and pointy, but realizing what that brought to troops on the ground really played a role in me pursuing this path.
do you remember any of those stories he told you?
Not in particular. He never got down into the weeds with me about it, but it was definitely a factor for sure.
Yeah, a lot of them don't, and
Right.
with family in particular. But, if they're members of the VFW or, the DAV or any of those, the Legion, a lot of them tend to open up a little bit more. And there's some other guys that do podcasts like this where they definitely open up, a lot more. But sometimes it's just something to deal with the family, your kids, grandkids, that they hold back some. And of course, it's not about hearing gore stories and things like that, but pretty much the mental aspect on if things affected them, how they coped, things like that. I listen to a lot of other podcasts and hear some pretty high test stuff with that and ways that people cope. So yeah, interesting.
One really cool thing about Skip and his dad is that they won the same award 20 years apart.
Really?
That's right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
because he won the NCO award. What year was that?
I believe it was 2021.
Yes. So in between his award and his dad's award is 20 years.
It's like NCO of the year or something?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Full circle.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you've been in AFE for 10 years trying to get a pilot slot, did you have any emotional roller coasters or anything with that? Were you ready to give up by the time you got accepted here? Or how did all that work, and how did it play in your brain?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was ready to give up, because I knew it would be a long road going into it. Like I said, I joined right out of high school and really had no idea how people became fighter pilots. And that was one of the reasons why my parents pushed me to join AFE, because they were enlisted for their careers as well. So they said, join this and you'll have the roadmap laid out for you. You can at least ask advice, ask how these guys and girls got into their situations. So from the very beginning, I was just learning, what I need to do to even be eligible for this. And that came with, being good at my job, and then obviously getting the education. That took time. So that took a little over 4 years, but with taking time off for deployments and TDYs and volunteering to do that sort of thing. But it's definitely been a long road to get here because all the requirements, I mean, there's so many qualified people out there that can want to fly military aircraft these days. It's becoming way more competitive. So there was definitely some frustration and just a lot of trying it over and over and over again. And but through that, I was able to make myself more competitive and better myself. And it finally worked out this year. So yeah, it was a long road, but it worked out. It was well worth the pursuit.
Yeah, so you only got notification a month or two ago?
Yeah, about 2 months ago. And
2 months ago.
with that being said, I mean, I still have a long road to go to even get there. Like I'm not by any means a fighter pilot right now or anything. So
Right, you got to go to officer school yet.
right, and then make it through pilot training and all that. So that's a multi-year process. So it's still a lot of work ahead. I just got a ticket to actually go do the work now.
Right. And there's a guy that I know was one of our TFI pilots. He was getting trained for another job in Georgia for a while. Ended up being the demo F-16 pilot for the Air Force now, FEMA.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's done a podcast here. And how did it come that you guys know or have met him?
He flew here, it was several years ago now, but he was attached to us through Shaw. And then, honestly, I mean, we do our normal thing. Here's your locker, here's your space kind of thing. And we would see him come and go as he was able to. But one of the first few conversations we had was because you text me and said, "Hey, tell him you know me." So I did, of course. And then that started, oh my gosh, he's great. He's great. Like, so it was really cool.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't remember how it started. If he told me he was down here, it must have been that.
No, I think, well, you sent a message to me and said, "Hey, do you have this guy?"
Yes. So I wonder, maybe even during this podcast, I'm not sure. Maybe he mentioned at some time he probably mentioned to me that he'd been down here. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and he was talking about. I was telling Skip earlier that when he got here, when you're brand new to a unit, especially when you're just kind of like borrowing the space and airplanes and time, was just pretty quiet, not making any waves or anything, but. He said that just meeting you guys in the shop and you in particular, who had been in the hog house before, it just made him feel at home,
Yes.
comfortable, and things. And actually, he's being a demo pilot. He's going to all the air shows now, a lot of them. And I'm going to see him Memorial Day weekend in the middle of South Dakota and at Capitol Pier, South Dakota.
Nice.
So you'd mentioned maybe do another one, a follow-up
Well,
podcast.
I hope so.
I hope he has time.
I hope so.
But yeah. And then you'd brought up his name a little bit earlier. I think you saw.
Yeah, I
on
saw
my
it on an
website.
episode. Yeah, and I recognized the name. Like I said, we met him when he came down to guest fly with us, and then he was here not too long ago for an air show we had. I don't believe he was flying at the time. I think it was one of the final flights for the previous demo pilot, Rebel Wilson. Mm-hmm. But yeah, got to see him again, so it's pretty cool. Now he's ripping around in the Viper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he posts some pretty cool stuff on Instagram and
Yeah.
Facebook, living the dream.
Hey, I think that's wonderful. He's a great guy.
Just a testament to the people that we meet in the military in particular, in the Guard, and with the TFI, Total Force Integration, good, bad, or indifferent, we're mixing more, but we're meeting some great people that way as well.
Yes. And it's that networking thing that we talked about. It ends up being a small world.
Yep, no doubt. And you mentioned deployments a little while ago. What are some of the deployments you've been on?
So I've been on, I guess, one, what do you call it, a true deployment. We went over to Kuwait for Operation Inherent Resolve in 2017 into 2018. So we did that one, and then I've done a Operation Noble Eagle since then. That's from stateside. We do that at home station, or we did during the one that I participated on. Mm-hmm. So I've been on those two, and then various TDYs, been all over the country. So
Yeah.
enjoyed
That's fun.
getting to do that traveling part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you really build that camaraderie
Oh yeah.
with doing those.
Yep.
Yeah, because after 9/11, of course, a lot of our deployments went to the Middle East, and flying 24/7, obviously, things were pretty serious. Basically, is what I'm getting at.
Oh,
So.
yeah.
Even before we got the night vision goggles, which is way before your time, 90, yeah, about 90, 93 maybe or so, we got those. But point being, when we went TDY, temporary duty, was usually 2 weeks somewhere in the CONUS.
Right.
And you'd have your evenings to hang out more. So with the night flying, that split everybody up and all that. But one of the struggles that I've seen is the young folks being able to spend enough time together to really get those relationships and commingle with the older folks and things. I think it's a little more difficult because the world's gotten a little more serious, and the deployments have gotten more serious. Yeah. So did you go along with him on any of the ones that he mentioned?
No, because I've only been here 5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
Well, 5 years in July. But we did go on our first TDY. We went to Gulfport.
Yeah, that's right.
That was my first TDY here.
A trip to Gulfport. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a usual TDY for many years. My parents used to tell me stories about their summer camp down in Gulfport, and so we don't go quite as often there anymore. But we got to go not too long after you first arrived.
Yeah.
That was in 19.
And based on the reaction, it was a pretty good socializing trip, is my guess.
I think so.
Oh yeah, it was fun. I mean, and it was fun to be down. I mean, that was the first time I'd ever been in a casino like that. So we had some fun times.
And well, had you gone overseas with some of the other deployments, some of the other units you were in?
I have.
Because yours was split up quite a bit.
Mine was split up. I've honestly never gone on a true deployment. So all of mine have just been, I guess, more so considered support TDYs. So I have done Korea, Ukraine. We also went to Finland and London. So I've had a different style of deployments.
That's not a bad deal. Not a bad deal.
Yeah.
So no, not a bad deal at all.
Yeah, it was nice. My unit is over doing like some PACAF stuff right now. I won't say where they're at, but it's different than just having to go to the Middle East all the time, because we did that. I've got 3 trips to Iraq. The Northern Watch, Southern Watch. Singapore was a pretty good deployment there. We were there for a couple months, but yeah, there's lots of places to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Just make the best out of each one. Northern Watch was pretty good. That was Incirlik, Turkey.
Okay.
Turkey. I presume they're still running there, but they had a nice area called the alley outside of the gate. With lots of nice restaurants, plenty of. You could buy just about anything there, or they would make you anything there.
They would fabricate it.
Yeah. So those are places. It's kind of nice that our units can get back to a little bit more. Well, actually, the term red or checkered flag. You guys, I don't know if you've heard that, but the term is starting to come back. Back in the day, it was where units would go to fly and practice. I don't know, maybe every 5 years or so. But it's where you would go if World War III kicked off back during the Cold War. And ours was St. Troy in Belgium. I got on one of those toward the end of that. But I have heard that term checkered flag flying around again a little bit more back at our unit. So, yeah, the only thing constant is change, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking down at my phone and we've kind of quickly gone through things. But I'm trying to think of other things to ask. Anything coming to mind? Think about, you're recently married, right?
Yes.
Yep. Went from Johnson to Creekmore.
Yep.
And are you married?
I'm soon to be married.
Soon to be married.
Less than 2 weeks now.
Okay.
Yes,
Nice.
sir.
And had a long engagement or young?
We got
Shorter
engaged back in July of last year. So, yeah, doing the thing in a week and a half, and
Yeah.
really excited. Yeah.
And when you two met, she knew you were trying to be a pilot?
She did. Yeah. So
She going into it eyes wide open? Is that
kind
what
of
we're
a funny
saying?
story about it. Yeah. I explained to her shortly after we met, maybe the second time I ever met her, that I explained in my head what I thought was saying, "Hey, this is what I want to do in my career. I'm going to be moving around, and that I'm going to be beholden to the military for a while." And what I guess came out of my mouth was more along the lines of, "I'm going to be moving around a lot, and I'm not bringing you with me." So
really?
I had to clear that up because
Oh, wow.
I meant the exact opposite of that. But yeah, obviously it worked out. We were able to clear that up. But yeah, I stumbled over my words a little bit. But what I was trying to say is, hey, I want you to come along with me on this adventure.
Yes.
So was able to clear that up, and she signed the deal. So yeah, we're ready to start that adventure.
Well, if they don't have much military involvement in there, they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I could easily
At
take
first,
that as...
Yeah, at first she thought I was carrying a gun, and I said, no, I'm just back in AFE working on the gear, cleaning out masks.
Yeah, and not knowing that spouse can go along,
Right,
And,
yeah.
and even, they're like with the Air Force, there's remote tours,
Right.
in Korea and different places where you generally go without your spouse, but I think there's programs where you can. But yeah, so she knew what she was signing up for right off the bat then. Huh?
Yeah, after I cleared up my mistake, my misunderstanding or miscommunication rather, but yeah, she did, and she's excited about it. She's excited to move around. So we'll be moving around for training for the next 2 years at least. So she's excited for that. We're excited to do that together.
Yeah, you're excited about all of it, I'm sure. But is there anything that not necessarily worried about or anything, or what would be your most concerning thing with going through fighter pilot training?
I mean, I know it's difficult. I know it's going to be very time consuming and very demanding as far as that goes. I'm going to be putting in a lot of hours and studying when I'm home. So I guess the most concerning thing is just being away from family and all that support system that we have here right now, being away and doing that more on our own. But I mean, we're looking forward to that. That'll be a challenge, but it'll be one that we'll be able to take on together. So looking forward to that aspect of it.
Yeah, the formation flying, just the controlling of the jet and having that steady of a hand, for some of the formations. I've just heard that that's been difficult for a few people, but we've had a couple guys that didn't make it through that portion, but they still get to fly,
Right.
And stuff. But you don't want that in the back of your head at all. I'm sure you just push forward, get her done, and
Exactly.
get back here. That'll be a great day when you get back here. And
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you climbing. Where
That'll-
will you go for the training on the F-35 itself?
So on the F-35 itself, after I finished UPT, the F-35, you can go through training at either Luke Air Force Base in Arizona or at Eglin down here in Fort Walton Beach in Florida. Mm-hmm. So one of those two.
The Guard will eventually have one base maybe to go where they'll train F-35 pilots as well. Or it's real early in the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're ever going to narrow it down to just one. Right now, it's the option of those two. So I'm not sure what the future plans are for
Yeah,
it.
it'd be after your time.
Right.
You'll see all that because when we were converting to F-16s and things, we were getting those jets from Air Force units, but now you guys are waiting for them to come off the assembly line.
Right.
There's a little trading going on here and there, but
Oh, yeah.
pretty much assembly line waiting. So pretty exciting. My unit fought pretty hard to be in the position you're in right now. So kudos to you. And based on that, you've got a lot of heritage in this unit. And when we were over in Iraq, went to Balad a few times, and I believe it was the 100th Fighter Squadron, the Tuskegee Airmen. And I didn't know the history on that. We were the 332nd Air Expeditionary Wing, but the heritage was the Tuskegee Airmen. Why don't the both of you kind of tag team and fill us in on what that is?
Well, like I said, I've been here 5 years, but I definitely know the story. But I think that what's really cool is I want to say it was right before I got here. The unit went back to the original 100th. So I thought that was really cool to honor the red tails and the heritage that comes with that, and just able to carry it from that point forward. I thought that was really cool. And I think we take a lot of pride in our heritage, just trying to honor it and carry it forward with just always being upfront, being able to deliver is what our motto is. So I think that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, because I got a lot more to learn on, but they definitely did deliver, and see you have the Red Tails shirt on there. So
That's right. Yeah. So like you said, I mean, we're a legacy unit for one of the 4 original squadrons out of the 332nd Fighter Group, which made up the Tuskegee Airmen. And it's just cool to have that history with us, because they were trained to go to World War II right up the road in Tuskegee, and to hold on to a piece of that here and be able to represent that, especially flying the F-35s. We have one sitting out on the flight line right now with a red tail. So being able to show that, and anybody in the country who sees that knows where we're from and what we're representing, that's a really cool thing to go to work and be able to stand behind every day.
yeah, and I think people stood pretty tall over in Iraq too, as we learned more about the history of it and stuff. Was pretty cool. So it was felt proud to be able to have that heritage brought over there as well.
For sure.
So
I'm thankful that Skip is actually going to be one of our pilots, because he has done really, really awesome work here in AFE. But I'm just very thankful that he's able to keep that here
yeah,
in this pilot position. So I'm grateful for that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's exciting to become, accept a greater responsibility in a unit that I grew up in. And I mean, but with that being said, like, I did nothing compared to everything that the original Tuskegee Airmen went through to even be able to fly in a country where, at the time they weren't expected to even be able to pilot a plane as good as other people, which, I mean, they proved it wrong back
yeah,
then.
total BS.
Yeah, they proved that wrong, and it's just exciting to be able to follow in their footsteps and fly with a plane that has a red tail just like them.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much. And you've got a few other red tail people around here. We got they're kind of not coming in here, so I'm not really sure.
Have
They're
to drag
hiding.
them out of hiding.
Yeah, they're hiding.
Yeah, so the deal was, I knew Benita the most, of course, and Joshua Stopp, and I believe he's going to be in the chair, after a little while here, and then maybe CJ from Vermont. We'll see if we can get him to sit down a little bit. But you might be a little young for this question.
Uh-oh.
I ask it quite often. I usually don't let them know ahead of time, and if they don't watch the podcast, they don't know anyway. So you've got some time behind you. You've got pilot life ahead of you. You got married life ahead of you. We were talking about kids earlier with some of the other guys in here and stuff. So right underneath that first camera there, you have 4 great-grandsons and 2 great-granddaughters. What would you tell them?
Oh, wow. And the little wisdom that I have over my 26 years, I would probably tell them something that I've learned going through the process of even being eligible to have the opportunity to one day become a pilot, is just don't give up on your dreams. Like, it sounds kind of corny at first, but there was times going through the process when I asked myself, if I was cut out for it, if I would ever make it happen, and just sticking to it and continuing to work every day and sticking to a plan and just trying to get a little bit better. That'll help you to reach your goals and make some of those dreams that you have come true one day. And like I said, it sounds cliche, but that's what I would pass on to them, is you can do anything you want to do. You just have to work for it. So.
Yep, and I used that wrong term early on when we were talking about, your time frame and were you ready to give up. It's like, by looking at you, there's no give up in his eyes at all. So you can, and I knew that off the bat. But
Thank you.
yeah, yep. I'm sure you'll have a strong legacy of family behind you once you get started here. But you get that pilot, get those wings first, and then move on to that. There,
That's the plan.
But yeah, and I will say, there's nothing like having kids. Nothing like having kids at all.
That's in the
So
future, but
Yep.
down the road a little ways.
there was some little debating between little boys and little girls a little bit earlier, and
Yeah.
it was fun. So, is there anything else you'd like to mention or talk about before we take a little break here?
No, I don't think so. Thanks for doing this and allowing us to share what we have, and thanks for allowing us on.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah,
glad
thank you.
you agreed to it, and he does have some family up in Sioux Falls, up where I'm from as well,
right.
like he was saying. So, yeah, very
Small
nice
world.
meeting you. Yeah, and
Yes,
we almost thought there was one more connection. I'll bring this up because I was with some Vietnam vets, and this coming Friday, a guy named Eldon Nygaard, his podcast is going to come out. It'll be long before when this one airs, but he brought in his helicopter helmet. I cleaned that up for him, and he was a Vietnam helicopter pilot, been shot down 4 times, had with hand-to-hand combat, had taken prisoner and flew one back with his helicopter with a gun pointed in the dude's ribs. You'll have to take a listen to that.
Wow.
But they're in this book called I'll get it wrong, but it's like Vietnam Still Coming Home, and it's the vets' stories in their words. And I know 5 people that are in that book. I've interviewed 2, going to do 2 more. But the next guy I'm going to interview, because he said his grandpa lives up there, and he said the book sounded familiar, that Eldon Nygaard's name was familiar. I said, yeah, the next guy is going to be Gene Murphy. And he goes, Gene Murphy? That's my grandpa. But it's not. Because the guy I'm talking about, he ended up getting paralyzed and all that. And he's like, no, my grandpa's not in a wheelchair.
Yeah, it turns out there's multiple Gene Murphys in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yeah, what are the odds? And man, I've had a couple other strange things where I had one guy on, and turns out his uncle was one of our pilots at
Wow.
the South Dakota unit. But man, if that would have been,
Yeah, that
it's
would've
strange
been-
enough that your grandpa's name is Gene Murphy.
Yeah.
So,
We were joking around. I said, "What if you guys are neighbors or something?"
Yeah, that would be even crazier.
yeah.
But they've had the same house for a long time up there, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I would know it. They're really close with their neighbors. So.
Right. You bet. Well, thanks again for agreeing to do this. Good luck on your pilot training. And
Thank you.
who knows? Well, we can give you my card too. You get up to South Dakota up there, whatever. We'll put you up for dinner in the hog house there.
All right, sounds
And,
good. I'll be
we'll
there.
Hear about how your career's progressed.
Great.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break and see who's the next person behind the mic. All right. right, we took a little break here, and now we have a guy that I met many years ago, I should say, Josh Stopp. He's been in this unit, in this shop, probably longer than anybody in the shop left.
Yeah.
You're the old guy?
I'm the old guy now.
Yeah. How many years have you been in the unit?
22 now.
22
22 in
years.
January.
We were talking about retirement just a little bit ago,
Yeah.
so maybe looking forward to some of that someday. We all do.
Someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you just tell us as much as you want to, whatever you're comfortable with where you grew up, family,
Okay.
and then roll into how you got interested in the military, how you got in, how you chose this career field in particular.
Okay. So I was born in Georgia. My dad was active Air Force. So he was stationed at Warner Robins at the time. So I was born in Warner Robins, Georgia. And around the time I was born, he took a year tour in Korea so that he could choose where he wanted to go. All our family's here, so that was the goal. He was going to do the Korea thing, bring the family back to where the rest of the family is. So that's what he did. So he did a year in Korea, and then we moved to Maxwell. So my granddaddy retired out at Maxwell, then my dad retired out at Maxwell. So we grew up 5 minutes from here. I never knew this base existed. I knew Maxwell was there. I knew Gunner was there, but I didn't really know what they did. I thought all the jets, all the noise was coming from Maxwell. I just didn't know. So I grew up in an Air Force family, swore I was never going to join the military. It just wasn't something I wanted to do. Probably this typical story of people that get in. And so, as you go, I went to high school, everything right down the road. Like I said, knew nothing about this place, but I'm the third child. So by the time you get to me, college money kind of runs out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No doubt.
so naturally, the military is the next choice. How do I pay for school? So I talked to my mom about it and told her, hey, I'm going military, but I don't really want to do the active duty thing. I don't want to move around. I don't, I'm kind of set here. I'm happy here.
Yeah.
So I looked into the reserves. I knew there was reserves out at Maxwell, and I thought, well, I'm still on the fence, but I'm looking and thinking, okay, the reserves may be what I want to do. I went to the MEPS thing, and they wanted me to swear in there. I'm not ready yet. I'm just trying to check another box before I decide, and so I walked out. This is too much. I'm not ready for all this.
Did you go through the whole physical and then get
Oh, yeah.
pushed and
Yeah,
walk out? So
yeah, I did the physical, and and somewhere I remember them talking about swearing in, and I thought nobody mentioned that to me when I was coming to MEPS. So I just darted out. I'm not doing this. I found out later that a guy I graduated high school with was in this unit, and he told me about it. I didn't know there was a guard here, or I knew nothing about it.
that's very common.
Yeah.
Very common that you don't have any idea that there's a guard unit there or even what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I passed this place all the time and had no idea. But he told me about it, and I'm like, okay. He said, I didn't have to swear in at MEPS. I said, well, okay. At the time, that was a big deal to me. I felt like I was kind of getting pushed into something I wasn't ready for. He told me, come talk to a recruiter, and it was more of a, hey, we'll swear you in here. You'll still go to MEPS because my physical they needed me to do it again.
Yeah.
Do it the right way. So I had to go do that again. But then it was come back here and swear in and see some familiar faces while you're doing it. The recruiter, my retention guy, everybody that kind of got me into the military, they were there when I swore in. So it kind of felt a little more familiar, felt more of a down home kind of thing, what I was looking for. Mm-hmm. So that was it. Now I'm in the Guard. So.
Yeah, so it was a school money thing. Did you use any of the school money opportunities?
I did.
Was that part of the urge when you were coming in as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because, same thing. We didn't have a way to pay for college or anything like that. So, yeah, I used it. And it worked out for me.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Such a soft-spoken lady.
At times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so did you end up using some of that college money then, or once you got in, how long before you got full-time out here and the answer on the school thing mixed in there?
So I did get the school money. I got when I joined at the time they were doing a $20,000 student loan repayment. So you take out the loans and they'll repay them. I also got some sort of ANGAP thing at the time. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was like a kicker is what they called it.
Yeah, I remember that term.
So all that meant to me was, hey, you'll be able to go to school. We're going to give you money to go to school. I said, that sounds good. I don't remember if that was career field specific or if that was just the guard at the time. I believe that was one of the things that got me into this career field. Obviously, what I was looking for at the time is tech school. How long am I going to have to be gone?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like most kids, they just, they want to get in and not be gone too long. So, I'm 19 at the time. I've got a girlfriend, I've got all my friends are still here. Nobody's really moved off yet. So, I just want to come back home. So, that's ultimately what got me in this career field at the time. It was a life support 6-week course. I was looking for short tech schools and it was this or fuels. And, so they took me around to both shops and, when I came into life support at the time, I met Hoon and Burhead and Randy, and I'm like, okay, this is the shop I want to be in.
Yeah, good group of guys.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting walking in there. I walked into fuels, and it was just a different environment. When I walked into life support at the time, it was yeah. I mean, it was everybody's hanging out and laughing and joking, having a good time, and this looks where I want to be. So that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, it's great when you have a shop that's cohesive and you can just have fun while you're working. I've heard a lot of laughing here, just since I've been here. Visited yesterday, dropped off the equipment and set it up. Looks like you got a pretty good flowing shop here going on.
We do. I think we do. We've come a long way, and we were able to work it all out. I mean, sometimes it's not as easy, but
yeah, every shop has that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing is perfect.
yeah, but we've done really well with getting our guys to be on the same page. And I think trust for me is a huge deal. So, yeah, we've worked really hard in that department.
Yeah. And when you got into the unit, was that pre-NVG? Did they already have NVGs when you got in? And you had 16s?
We were doing the NVGs. Yeah, it was 16s. And because I remember covering the NVGs in tech school, the tech school instructor wrote a big formula on the board and had us all intimidated about night vision. And it's really not that bad, guys. But I do remember that specifically. We had NVGs at the time, and I think it was kind of a newer thing then. It was the thing everybody was scared of.
Right, because some of that bonding thing is when you get new equipment like that, and I know we were pretty apprehensive as well, especially when our shop was tasked with completely tearing them down all the way to the bones, put them back together, and then recalibrate them, collimate them, the whole bit. So it's a little bit intimidating on that part.
I remember that was kind of the thing that we tried to avoid when we first got them is just whatever you do, please don't break these things open. Do it at all costs. Don't do it.
Yeah. I remember coming down. Actually, I came down here, or it might have been at Gulfport, and Hoon and Paul Parent from Vermont. A little segue there with the Vermont guy that's here helping for the 35s.
I didn't realize he was from Vermont.
We'll see if
Paul
we get
Parent.
CJ in here. Yeah, he was back in the day when Hoon, and those guys are big golf partners.
Yeah.
And stuff. But yeah, we came down here, and like I said, I'm pretty sure we went to Gulfport and trying to learn the NVGs.
Yeah.
And they were good at instructing it, but there was some intimidation factor there because, when you, the collimation was one thing in particular where you had to, it basically is getting both tubes to where when you're looking through them, you're looking at the same thing, totally overlapped. Otherwise, pilots would come back, terrible headaches, that kind of thing, and that not good. So the intimidation factor helped with learning to do it right, people bonding together because maybe one person's a little better than the other, and it's a challenge that helps people come together. What do you see as like some of the most challenging times you've had with equipment? Changes of equipment, upgrades of equipment.
I remember the definitely when we went from Gen 1 to the ERPs was just a huge pain, if nothing else.
Chem gear.
Oh man, it was bad. Because by the time we actually transitioned to the ERPs, as all right, we're going to do this. We've had the equipment for a while. We've kind of pushed it off. By then, there was mods everywhere on this thing. You had to take all this stuff apart and put it all back together in a different way and drill this and move this. And so it wasn't just pull the stuff out of the box, just brand new stuff and start issuing it out. It was, I mean, there was a million mods once we pulled that stuff out. So I definitely remember that. And then the radios have always been one of those things that it's technology, you've got to keep up with it. And I remember when we did the 112s, Burhead walked in and just kind of threw it on my desk. Said, "Here, figure this out." It was too much for him. So that was one of my first things when I was I believe maybe a senior and probably maybe early staff sergeant. That was one of the first things he put me on. Is this is yours now? I don't want to see it again till it's done. So,
Yeah, I remember meeting some of the St. Louis guys in Turkey, Insular Turkey in '96. And it was my first time being ADVON, the advanced party going over there. But the very first PRC 112 radio, what they had for a tester, and I learned about it there, first time I'd seen the radio even, is you just snap this module on the bottom and you went to the 10 key keypad and you held down the number 1 and the little tester would spell out ONE, 1. Put number 2, spell out TWO. And I was like, I think I can handle this, Yeah. But then the radios obviously got a lot more advanced. That 112 got a lot more advanced after that. And Wayne Hackett from Virginia, I took over for him for the F-16 weapon system team chief in like 2004, something like that. But he taught me a lot about that 112 radio. Now, C-cell, how'd you do with C-cell?
we're still trying to do with these.
It's
Still trying to
tough.
figure it out.
It's tough. Yeah. The people that started on that radio, they will say it's easier than 112 if they've had exposure to it. But I was old by the time that came around, and I didn't have to learn all of it, but I knew it was going to be tougher for the guys.
Yeah, some of it's a different
did it.
language. I mean, once you start getting into the way it operates and having to deal with comm and all that stuff, like, all right, now you're outside of my scope.
Yeah.
So it's difficult.
The coolest part is with the survival equipment that we put in the survival kits, these radios, the survival training course. We have SEER instructors now in the Guard, and hopefully they're helping you guys out as well. But just knowing that we have that side of the Air Force, combat search and rescue, that what we do, what we touch every day helps with that.
Yeah.
And I think that motivates people to learn the equipment and the electronics in particular a little bit more, because when you're overseas, they have special instructions, and sometimes those change because in the area of responsibility, everybody's using the same rescue stuff. But if something gets compromised, everybody has to change their waypoints. Everybody has to change their frequencies, and you can't delay on that.
Yeah, we saw some quick turnover a lot of times in during deployments. I mean, it was at least a couple of times a week because something happened and somebody did something wrong, and now everybody's got to change. And making sure those changes happen right when they are supposed to, and not before, not after. That's a tightrope to walk.
Yeah, Benita was saying with the places that she's been and when she's moved, and you also had medical in between there, has not had the opportunity to deploy overseas as far as in a contingency kind of thing. And you're ready to go, obviously. You know what you're doing. You're hired here to run the shop. What are some of the places that you've been?
So I was probably 6 months out of tech school, and we got orders for a year. We're going to Base X. We don't know where this is. And I had to sit in front of the commander and, do you have any reason why you can't go? Not that I can think of right now. I'd love to have time to come up with one, but you didn't really give me the chance. So we were given orders for a year. That was 2003. And luckily we didn't stay that long. We were in a place where they wanted us out as quick as they could. So that was 2003. Turned around the next year, went to Al-Udeid, 2004. Then we had a break in 2006. We did Iraq, Balad.
Yep.
Turned around and did that again in 2009.
I think our unit was following yours in DC some
Yeah,
on those deployments.
that seems, yeah. And then the last one that I went on was 2014, the Bagram. So, and that was the long one. That was I think I was there 7 months, which was not what I signed up for in the Guard,
Right.
but ended up being the best trip. I had a blast.
Nice.
I mean, it was certainly an active deployment, but at the same time, sometimes that's the stuff that keeps you kind of in the whole thing and not just getting tired and bored, and so it was a good trip. And I volunteered for all those that I could at the time because I was a young single guy. I know eventually the family stuff's coming, and so I got married in February of 14. We left in April. I found out right before that my wife was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So I got to hear the heartbeat earlier than you normally get to, and I came back and she had a baby the next month, within 30 days. So I missed all that, all the pregnancy stuff, and came back, and then now you've got a family, So
Off and running.
yeah. So I've been fortunate since then that I hadn't had any big trips go on. I kind of felt like I was buying my time then. I was doing as much as I could then, so that once I had the family, I could say maybe not this one, and and it worked out for me.
Yeah.
Timing.
There's some other people in other units that thought the same thing. They just wanted to get going when they were younger and stuff, and build a little bit of a pad there. But obviously, go if you have to.
Yeah, I mean that pad's only going to take you so far. So I was able to sit one out, and now that pad's gone now.
Yeah.
So,
One child you've had?
one child. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. There was also a deployment where you guys basically had to build your own shop, and you obviously won't be able to say where you were at, but I remember learning about mobility packages with Chief Snyder, who took Chief Calhoun's place of being the Combat Air Force's team chief for our career field. But those two definitely pushed us to have carpenter tools in the mobility package. So if you can see all these colored cases over here, the military mobility ones would only have the black and green, maybe tan over there, none of the orange and yellow. But pushing to have a lot of carpenter tools.
Oh, yeah.
Because you
We
might
used
have
them.
to build your own shop.
Yeah, on that first deployment, we put the floors down in tents and had to build racks to put all the equipment on, helmets and everything. Everything was built by us. I mean, the tents were there when we got there. Our CE went in, built the tents, put those up, and everything else is on you to do. So, it was big to have those tools and stuff there. And it's funny you say the mobility package stuff, because I'm sure it trickled from them to you, and then yours trickled right back to me when it was my responsibility to do mobility packages. I came to South Dakota and learned exactly how y'all did it and brought it back here. I've still got all your binder programs and all that stuff
really?
that I stole from y'all when I was up there. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of the standard when I was learning to do it. So
Yeah,
it's
and I
kind of
got
cool how
all the binder information from Chief Snyder.
it's funny how all that information just circles.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and this is the age of computer, but there's still a little binderology that can help you when you don't have computers or electricity. But yeah, learned so much from Chief Calhoun. I just left his place this morning, and shout out to you too and your wife Deborah. Southern hospitality is alive and well.
Oh,
no
that's
doubt.
wonderful.
But yeah, and that's what I love. Is the relationships with this, and the people that you know, and then you don't know, they know, and like I think you were probably at that first, the AFEC class. We called it the South Dakota class. Were you like 07-ish or so?
Yep.
So that was the first one where we did built the mobility shop in the Chow Hall.
Yes.
On the last day.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I was
That
telling
was
the
it.
guys back here about that. Yeah, and Hoon was telling me that he had brought together, I think at Gulfport, when he first became the CAF, to have people come in. And this is before the weapons system team chief came about, but then he was given some chief stripes from that. So he got to know people like Chief Snyder, and then started building the whole weapon system team chief council. That was Chief Calhoun and the guys at the Guard Bureau that started that. So yeah, kudos to them. And then it built up the SAV program to have people just help each other. But after the AFEC classes, it was like people got to know each other enough that you felt comfortable calling. Like you just mentioned Mike Larner a little bit ago. You're needing the contact, and he had the contact, and then they're on the phone, and he's saying, "Hey, tell Jimbo hi for me." You know.
Yeah,
And
he did.
FEMA, we talked the fighter pilot that's a demo pilot now. He was TFI at our unit, and we've done a podcast, and maybe going to do another one because he's going to be in South Dakota doing an air show. And the people that you know, I mean, that I'm sure you've called people trying to figure things out.
Absolutely. The people that I met at your place. And
Yep.
I feel like I was fortunate to come in when I did and under the people that I did. Even after Hoon retired, and Burhead was very big on networking and bringing me up to South Dakota and different places. He said, you're going to need help. So find the people to help you. So, and that I used to come up there, and I was the quiet guy that didn't know anybody, and I'm kind of staying back. I felt like I shouldn't even be here, but he was smart enough that no, you should be here. You need to know these people, and I feel fortunate for coming up under that.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was glad you decided to do this, because I knew you're a pretty quiet fella.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many AFEX did you come up to?
I forget. I know it was more than one. I don't remember exactly how many I came up to, but
Yeah, I think there's about 7 of them we did in about 10-year time frame.
yeah. So I know it was probably 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Probably.
Well, you were there for the first one, so we had the icebreaker party out in the hog house, and the second class, they're out to hog house every night instead of just one in the week. So but I'll tell you what, people continued learning through the evening. Have a couple drinks together, talk, and just like going to a conference.
Yeah.
In the evenings, you just really learn so much.
Yep.
But the networking is huge. So were a lot of the deployments that you went on, were they? I'm trying to remember the word now. Rainbows, or when 3 units came together.
Yeah.
And they used this. They pooled their equipment. Airplanes, say for a 6-month period, but then each unit did like 60 days worth. Were you involved with quite a few of those?
Most of them were. The first one was that one was a little bit different. That was a presidential activation kind of thing. So it was all of us there together. It was us and 2 other units. For certain reasons, only 2 units brought jets. They didn't want all 3 units jets to be there. That was above my pay grade, but we were all there together working. So we had pretty much different squadrons taking different shifts. So and that's one way to do it. I don't, there's good and bad to that. But after that, it was more of the AEF rotation kind of thing, where we were doing 45 days. Somebody else was doing 45 days and splitting it up that way. Which at the time I didn't mind. But you're pretty much getting there. By the time you're settled in, you're out processing. I mean, it's that quick. Which even to a young guy like me seemed like, there's probably. I mean, this seems like a little bit of a waste to.
Yeah,
but
and a lot of our Air Force counterparts definitely thought that, because they would see people come in and out, and it's a lot of work, a lot of processing, a lot of fuel for jets going back and forth.
It's a lot of work for 45 days. So like I said, you start out processing a month before you leave. So within a couple of weeks, you're already out processing. So it was interesting, but I think all of them were like that until the 14. And obviously, I think we're sitting here today with what we've got here because of 2014. I think that was the whole point of it. For us to do it one unit by themselves for extended time, to show that the Guard can do it and show that this unit can do it. And I think these units benefited from what happened in 2014. And I think everybody did a real good job, and so here we are.
Yeah, you guys definitely set the precedence, because there was more Guard units after that did the longer.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's that's not the precedence we were trying to set. I don't think everybody was happy with us for doing it.
Not to blame you for that, but it's just what happened at the Guard Bureau level and Air Force level.
Yeah.
It was coming inevitable, I believe.
Yeah.
Because it was a little too short doing a 45-day, stint.
Yeah, I know not everybody was completely happy about us pulling it off, but yeah, I think it worked out fine. And you're right, there's got to be a medium in there somewhere. I mean, you can't just go and turn around and come back. And that's a long trip. I mean, that's a long time to be away from your family. I think it would have been harder if my child was born before then. That would have been a whole lot harder. Luckily, I kind of missed the hard stuff anyway. I missed the pregnancy, and I didn't really have to deal with too much of that. I mean,
Right.
we keep it nice on the phone when me and my wife talked while I was there, and
Yeah.
so
She knew what you were doing.
she knew what I was doing,
You
and
knew what she's doing.
yeah,
To a point.
there was a lot of the horror stories I heard after I got home of her sickness, and she was traveling for work at the time, so it was rough on her. But she held it together while I was gone, and so the timing was it worked out for me. I'm sure she would have rather it been a different time, but
Right. Good neighbors and things too to help
yeah, absolutely,
out.
a family in the area, so I mean it worked out.
Right. Right. So what are some of your most proud moments being in the military?
Oh man. I would say, oh man. I think my most proud moment is, as strange as this sounds, just working really hard to be a good supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be one of my, I take a lot of pride in that. And I think that I really want to ensure that people have work with me feel like they're learning something, feel like they can take away something. And like I said, I work really hard on that.
Yeah, because there's every shop has its ups and downs, and there's been some supervisors that have gone through that haven't been the most popular. Sometimes it's just that way. Sometimes it's their fault. So yeah, learning from that is definitely a good thing to do, and it's difficult. It's hard.
It is hard because there's no checklist available. I mean, and everybody is different. So it is hard, but it's sweet when it comes together.
Right.
It is.
You bet. How about you? Do you have a proud moment or two that stands out in your memory?
I mean, I'm very proud of where we're at right now. Like you said, and I've seen in my 22 years now, it's all ebbs and flows. You've got really good times in the shop, and then there's times where it seems like all your good people left, and how do we put this all back together? And I know with Benita's work that we're in a really good place right now. I'm really happy with where we're at, and that is because we have leadership that came in, and she's different. She's a different type of leader than I'm used to. I mean, can you imagine her versus Burrhead? It's different styles.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of used to that. You've got to be loud, and you've got to be. I mean, everybody knows when Burrhead walked in the room,
Yeah.
and she's shown me a different way to do things, and it's been very effective. We were talking the other day about how we're very happy with the current state of the shop, which it's great from where we were coming from. We had some low years. It was tough for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm proud to be a part of that. I feel kind of thankful that I'm getting to see another side of how to be a supervisor. We were talking before about kind of the standard that you set, and we're like, well, nothing's ever wrong in that shop. Like, like, how do you get to that
how
point?
do you do that?
It's the only time I've ever seen it where everything looks done. Like, it doesn't seem like that's possible. And then so it's nice to see different styles of supervision, and I'm proud of where we're at right now too.
That's cool. Yeah. And I appreciate the comments about our shop, but far from perfect.
Yeah.
We were not, especially,
couldn't tell.
personnel wise.
Yeah.
Every shop goes through personnel issues, and a couple times we had a little more in our share, but we worked through it and stuff. But I like what you said about, if you can have that, and you will have that, but the shop and the job and what we do for the fighter pilots in the unit is number one. So if you can have those kinds of issues, yet still have your shop in order, then you just work through the personnel issues and stuff. And I do remember walking in the shop one time. I was the ops chief up front, but I was still the supervisor. But there were some things going on, and I'm just like, I just don't know about dealing with this anymore. And I went back to the shop. I said, you know what? Person to person, group speak. And it's like, I used to work really hard to try to help people love coming to work. And I was like, I don't think that's my gig anymore. I'm going to do everything I can to keep you from hating coming to work. anywhere between hate, like, and love, that's up to you guys. And then I walked back out of the shop and they started gelling, and it seemed to work pretty good. I think they're gelling pretty good right now too. So, and they did do a podcast, so you can tell by some of the laughing and all that.
Good.
But we partook a little bit on that one too. I put the preemptive. There's a little language on this one here too. But one of our guys was going to go to alert out at Riverside.
Yep.
So kind of getting under Fresno's many document out there. So commonality there too. But
Yep.
But yeah, toward the end of that one, we had a lot of fun. Took 2 breaks but we got to the sentimental part at the end, and there's a few feelings there because the guy that was leaving just said, we love each other, and it was good.
Yeah.
It was really good. You guys got that here.
I think in AFE you go through a lot, like you were talking about with the NVG process and training and stuff like that. In AFE we go through a lot, so I think that contributes to what we learn from each other, and also too when you go through something with somebody, it does make that bond stronger. Mm-hmm. So I think that's just AFE in general, maybe.
Yeah, and it seems like through the years. We spend a little less time with each other on our off time, but at least if you have a little bit of it, that goes a long way as well.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing better with that.
She's real good about making sure that we set that time aside, and it's not all business all the time.
Yeah.
Which sometimes I wonder, are they going to let her get away with that? Well, it's going to be on her. So
You hired me for something, and I'm doing it.
yeah.
Yeah, I got a little taste of that this morning when we're getting ready for this, going to get setting up for it. And she goes, yeah, I just told him to wear civilian clothes today, for this and blah, blah, blah. And in my brain is like, man, I'd have had to go up to the boss and, can we be in civilian clothes today?
Yeah.
Good on you, man. that's a good example.
Well, I said, these guys would be a little more comfortable. We'll just,
Yeah.
So that's where my mind was.
Nice. And your leadership lets you make decisions like that. So that's cool.
Well, like I said, they hired me and I'm still here. So
Nice. Nice. Is there, like I said, you've been here the longest. Do you have any other memories you would like to bring up?
Oh man. Throughout the year, there has been some characters come through here that just make the place memorable. You definitely won't forget. There's a lot of them with Burhead, Don Bracken. He's just going to stick in your memory no matter what. The way he operated.
Yep. Rest in peace to that guy.
Yeah, through different stages of your life, you've got that kind of father figure, and that's who that was for me. Mm-hmm. After high school time frame, it's just that was my father figure at the time. That kind of teaches you how. All right, this is how it works now. You're not a kid anymore, and he would make sure you knew that you're not a child anymore. I'm not going to treat you like a child. And there's too many instances to think of. It just his impact on you. You feel that go with you after he's gone. You feel that you're kind of carrying it, like the little Burheadisms that you'll kind of pick up on. Some of the guys that used to work out here that still come back, that's one of the first things they want to talk about. So any of those kind of interactions were things that I really. I cherish those things. That really defines at least my early career. Just kind of looking back, that's what I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was larger than life.
Absolutely,
no doubt.
Absolutely. Just owned the room when he walked in. Everybody knew he was there. Just different kind of personality than I was used to.
Yeah, I remember that party and supper at the Hog House. You made sure that we all settled down and we bowed our head and we had our prayer before we ate, and then. Commence.
Yep.
From then on.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was driving over here, I was thinking about. I think I've got a bunch of those pictures, so I can post pictures and videos on these things. So I should be able to find some Burhead pictures to put up here, at least a couple of them.
I think I've still got a couple from the Hog House, and floating around here somewhere.
Yeah.
A lot of memories on that computer. I have to look through them because I know
Send some to me.
for sure the first AFET class, I've got all that because that was still how I was building all my boxes and everything. So I know I've got a lot of pictures from all that. I have to
Okay.
look through.
All right, and I've got a website that I use that you can send up to 2 gig of information for free,
Okay.
kind of deal. So when we're done here, I'll give you that deal. So yeah, the ones with personnel at work and in the hog house, I'd love to get those from.
Yeah, I'd have to.
I'm
I'll
all
go through
about
'em.
photos, man.
Yeah.
I gotta. That's kind of how this started. We started the Facebook group, the Hog House, because I started counting all the folders of photos from events that I had in the Hog House, and the AFEC was some of the first ones, of course. So I was like, well, people might like to see this. So I started that group in like 2 days. There's like 250 members on it. And then I started posting with pictures and things, and we've evolved into this. So whenever one of these goes out, I post it there. And yeah, I'd love to get some of those pictures, and Burhead in particular.
Yeah.
He knew a lot of people that were there, and there's a lot of fun shenanigans going on, and he's all about having fun.
Yep.
And same with Hoon, them other guys, Randy Man, and I think you four are the ones that I knew from this unit, at that time. So like I say, you're the old guy here now.
I'm the old guy now.
How's that feel?
I didn't think we'd get to this point. I wasn't expecting. I didn't realize that I would be here this long. The technician program kind of roped me in, and so I'm still here, and I've still got a ways to go too. So it's going to be a long career. Hopefully, by the time I'm done with it.
Yeah, and look at what you've learned, all of us, from day one, day 365 up to where you're at now. And there's been a lot of young people talk to like guys in my old shop, like Sorney and some of these people, and they look at them with all the information that they have. I was like, dude, you're going to be those guys. Just soak it in.
Yep.
What you're doing right now, remember it, learn more, treat people good, and you're going to be that person someday. And they'll get there faster than some of us old guys did, I'm sure, with doing that. A lot of good young folks running shops out there. So
Absolutely.
all right. Well, anything, we might be done. We might not be done. We got to go see if CJ from Vermont wants to come on and tell his story a little bit here. So, but got any other thoughts?
I don't think so.
No, I think this is just really cool. I think what you're doing, kind of getting everybody's perspective and retelling some of the old stories. I love that. I think this is kind of a cool thing.
Should I get him like I did Skip?
Sure.
All right, you have a child, so he didn't have one, so it really threw him off. All right, underneath that front camera, you have 4 great granddaughters and 2 great grandsons. What would you like to say to them?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Man, be better than me. It's really all I can say. Do it better than I did. I don't really know. Hopefully I've got plenty of time to think about that, and that's a good question. That's really something to think about.
Yeah, and that's the fun part about this is, people, you don't know who down the line will see it, and it's not a big channel, anything like that, but we do it for the people that are on it. So your family and friends,
Yeah.
And then hopefully it'll go down a generation or two, because they'll be like, well, what did Grandpa do in the military anyway? So now they got a piece of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that. All right, well, thanks for doing what you do.
Been a pleasure.
You bet, and you as well.
Yes,
And,
thank you.
We will take a break here, and we'll chase CJ down the hall.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Thanks for listening so far.
The network is a little lower.
He doesn't want to do it. He said no.
He can enjoy it. That's all right.
I told him, tell a story. He said no, he's boring. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. All right, let's see. We gotta get a CJ on it. Like, come on, Mr. Vermont.
Hey, you did good, man.
Yeah, you did good. Experience.
Yeah, well, no. No, I'm gonna just sit there and just run my mouth. Yes, it's more fun than you think it'll be.
Yeah.
Getting there.
Yeah, even Hoon and Randy said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look like a natural up there.
Got a good radio